Hey guys, today I'm going to show how to play Yone mid and how to carry your games with him. In this video, you'll learn how to play in the early, mid and late game, also what runes, summon spells and items to use. At level 1, depending on your opponent, you can start with Q or W. If your opponent plays a melee champion, start with Q, but if he plays a ranged champion, start with W, so you can more easily last hit the 3 melee minions later. Also when your opponent attacks you, use Yone's W to shield yourself. Your goal with Yone is to stay healthy until you reach level 3. You can do this by letting your opponent push the minion wave towards your tower. Don't worry if you miss last hitting a few minions. If you play Yone the right way, later you will have more farm than your opponent. Sometimes at level 1 the minion wave will push towards the enemy tower, so try to hold the wave around the middle by last hitting them until the third wave arrives, and then quickly push the minion wave towards the enemy tower and recall, because when you're near the enemy tower, the enemy jungler can come to kill you. Also when you return to the lane, you have an advantage over your opponent with items and health. But if your opponent at level 1 starts pushing out the minion wave, try to freeze it near your tower until you reach level 3. You can do this by keeping at least 3 ranged minions alive near your tower. Once you reach level 3, you'll be able to trade more aggressively with your opponent. At level 3, before you start the trading combo, stack your Q and then E, Q3, W, auto attack, Q, auto attack. One trick you can use to trade with your opponent is to stack your Q first, and when your opponent gets close enough to last hit a minion, you punish him. Especially try to trade with your opponent when he tries to last hit the cannon minions, because everyone is focused on killing them. When your opponent comes to trade with you, you can use E to dodge his abilities. Once you build a large minion wave in the middle, focus on pushing them to the enemy tower as fast as possible. Then return to base to avoid ganks from the enemy jungler. But before you return to base, check if your jungler needs you, because there might be a fight at the Scuttle Crab. When you're at the base, buy one control ward, and when your minions are near the enemy tower, put the ward in this bush to prevent enemy ganks. Once you return to the lane, the enemy minions will now push towards your tower. If the wave is too big, try to kill a few minions without taking damage from your opponent, so you can keep freezing the wave near your tower until you reach level 6. Also place a ward this way so you can keep track of your opponent. This way you will know if your opponent is returning to his base or going to gank other lanes. If he goes to gank other lanes, ping your teammates to play more defensively. But if he returns to base, quickly push out the minion wave, because that way he will lose gold and experience from the minions. Before level 6, if you have the opportunity to attack your opponent's tower, don't try to destroy the plates, because your damage is very low. Also, you may die from the enemy jungler. It is better to recall and spend your gold. Once you reach level 6, you can start the all-in combo by stacking Q and then E, Q3, R, W, Q, auto attack, Q. And when you return to your body, you have Q3 available in case you need to escape. If you reach level 6 first, you can try to jump on your opponent, because you have a big advantage with your ultimate. If he still manages to survive, that's okay, because you have to recall and so he will lose gold and experience. If your opponent is also level 6, make sure his health is below 80% before jumping, so you can kill him more easily. Also make sure you have enough space so your opponent can't escape. After killing your opponent, always push the minion wave to his tower so that he loses gold and experience. But if you have very low health after the fight, it is better to recall, because you might die from the enemy jungler. One trick you can use to avoid enemy ganks is to have your ultimate or flash available when the minion wave is in the middle or near the enemy tower. With Yone, the tower diving is very easy. Just before you dive, make sure your opponent has less than 50% health and that your E and your ultimate are available, so you can return to a safe position. When your jungler comes to gank your lane, try to bait your opponent into using his escape abilities so you can kill him more easily. In this example, Zed uses his W to attack me, and now he can't escape. When your opponent is ganking your teammates and the fight is not nearby, don't go to help, because you won't be there in time. So you can punish him by pushing out the minion wave to deny him gold and experience. Also you can get some tower plates for free. When attacking the enemy tower, be careful, because the enemy jungler may come to defend it. But if you manage to react early, before the fight starts and you have an advantage over the number of players, you can go and help your teammates. After level 6, start pushing the minion wave with auto attacks or Q to gain lane priority. But don't kill the minion wave instantly when your opponent is there, because you still want to trade with him when your Q is stacked, because that way he won't have enough health to help the other lanes. Once the minion wave is under the opponent's tower, you can do a few things. You can kill the enemy raptors, gain vision, or go and help your teammates. After destroying the first mid tower, always push the minion wave towards the second enemy tower. You can then farm the nearest jungle camps or create fights where you have an advantage over the number of players. When there are no objectives, try to steal the enemy jungle camps to increase your gold and experience, because that way the enemy jungler will be lower level than you when there are no jungle camps for him to farm. When your team is doing objectives like Dragon or Baron, you don't necessarily have to be there to help. Instead, you can use E and zone the enemy team until your team finishes the objective. Also, you can make traps in the jungle if you think a squishy champion might come to you, but make sure there are no enemy wards by using control wards or oracle lens. In teamfights, wait for your team to engage and then try to find and burst the squishy enemy champions. The easiest way to do this is by flanking the enemy team. Also try to hit as many squishy enemy champions as possible with your ultimate. For skill order, you want to max Q, then E, then W. For summoner spells, you want to always take Flash and Ignite, but sometimes against heavy poke matchups you can take Teleport. For runes, against bruisers, use Lethal Tempo, Triumph, Legend Alacrity, Last Stand, Bone Plating and Unflinching. Against ranged champions, replace Bone Plating with Second Wind. For the bonus stats, always take Attack Speed, Adaptive Force and Armor or Magic Resist depending on the matchup you're up against. For items, against bruiser matchups, take Doran's Blade and 1 health potion, but against ranged matchups, take Doran's Shield and 1 health potion. Then build Berserker's Graves, Immortal Shield Bow and Infinity Edge. For the fourth item, if the enemy team has a lot of healing, build Mortal Reminder, but if they have a lot of AD, build Death's Dance, and if they have a lot of AP, build Spirit Visage. Then always take Bloodthirster and Guardian Angel. So in conclusion, you need to have good wave management and play defensively until you reach level 3. Also, you need to keep track of what your opponent is doing so you can make better decisions. And after level 6, you need to find fights where you have an advantage over the number of players. If this video was useful to you, don't forget to like it. And if you want more tips and tricks for Yone, you can watch this video.